style versus my traditional way of doing these webinars, because I think a lot of the questions around resumes are most likely direct experience. You either are getting hits or you're not getting hits on your resume. Traditional way of so let me X out of here. So we're gonna do mostly it's gonna be going around the room and just really asking what's happening. Do you currently have a PM resume? Do you currently are you transitioning possibly from a non-project management role into a project management role? So let me get that understanding first, so then that way in this webinar, you're truly getting what you came out to get, which is how do you update your resume? And one of the things that I'm hoping that you'll all walk away with as well is a template that you can use and just plug in your information. So I'll create that together with you, and then I'll send that out to everyone that's joined this webinar. So I'll start, I'll go around the room, and the first person I see on here is Jessica. So Jessica, tell me what's going on with your resume. What are sort of those burning questions that you have in terms of getting possibly a promotion or a new job in 2024 in terms of project management?
For me, making sure that I'm trying to move into more agile environments. So making sure that what is on my resume reads agility and reads agile practices is my biggest thing.
Got it. And so you're looking to move into a more of an agile project management role. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Thank you. Ben, what about you? You want to share? All right, Ben, you might be on mute or talking on mute. All right, we'll skip over you, Ben, until you get your mic figured out. Suzanne, if you want to share.
Sure. Hi there. So at the moment, I am not in a PM role, but looking to transition into that space. Historically, my experience had been more on the admin side and was previously an executive assistant prior to my current role. So right now I do program assessment management in the graduate medical education space. So I'm in healthcare, but looking more so, my interest at this time with my resume is to figure out how to really identify and express those transferable skills to make that shift and transition into a PM space.
Got it. Got it. And when you say PM space, you're saying, do you think you're ready to sort of own your own project, or would you rather be part of a project team?
I think that I have enough skill and experience to potentially own my own project, but I'm not against at this point taking that first step of being part of a project team, since that was not my direct experience in the past. So I'm willing to do that and build up, that experience to then just be the project manager.
Okay. Okay. Perfect. So, I always talk about ensuring that you identify where you want to be. So then that way your resume is speaking to that, and you don't go into a PM interview and then they're asking you all of these leadership skills and like managing things. And, we're unable to answer those very high level or technical questions. Thank you, Suzanne, for that. Vic, what about you?
I just took a PMP class a few months ago, so I'm in the process of just taking the exam actually. So I'm here mostly to understand what the market is like and what to potentially target after I'm done with that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you took your exam, you passed the PMP, you said?
No, I haven't taken the exam yet. I'm prepping for it.
Okay, okay. Well, good luck with it. I know that you're gonna kill the exam and get it done. It is to talk about the market, we are in the world of project management right now. There's a shortage of PMs. basically every role that you see is requiring someone who can come in and help them organize things. And that's not something that an AI can do. So it is one of those jobs that are in demand from a market perspective. Ben, I know you're having some audio issues. I don't know if they've been fixed. If you want to give it a try, sort of tell us about what you're looking for.
Yeah, sorry about that. I'm here. You kind of got me walking to my car. So really what I'm trying to do is redefine my resume for those jobs that I'm looking for. Right now, it's either I'm getting rejection notices because I'm too qualified for the positions or I'm not qualified enough for the positions based on how my resume reads.
I see. Okay. Yeah, and that's important as well. I think thank you for sharing that. And what industry are you looking to get a PM job in?
That's kind of the $10,000 question. I've worked a lot of different industries, so I'm kind of a jack of all trades, master of none. So it's more of getting into a company where I can grow my PM or data analytics career.
Data analytics. Okay, got it. Perfect. So here's what I'm going to do, just to help you guys with a little bit of brainstorming and self-assessment, and then getting into understanding, okay, well, how do you target your resume? So self-identification means really looking back at your experience, right? Looking at your resume. For example, Jessica said, she wants to go more into agile. Well, that's self-identification. That's saying, I know the experience I have, I know the certifications I have, and here's where I would like to go. So that's where you want to do. So this is where you're answering what skill sets do you have, and which industry or industries look for these skill sets, right? If we think about the job market itself, I mean, not to make it really economical, but at the end of the day, you going out there and looking for a job is someone looking to purchase, a service from you. And that service is for you to deliver something based on your skill sets. So if we're saying we're good at project management, well, project management is a vast discipline. Within that discipline, what are you really good at? Right? Are you really good at communications management? Are you really good at stakeholder engagement? Are you really good at risk management? Are you really good at quality management? Are you really good at, procurement? So when you look at project management, and for those that have taken a project management class, which I think it's highly important because you gain the knowledge of and the terminology of how the industry speaks the business language of project management. So that's really essential. So the skill self-identification is what skills do you have and what industries are purchasing those skills. The next thing you want to say is what are your areas of expertise, right? As I mentioned, is it risk management? Is it more technical? Right? What are those areas of expertise that you have that you're really good at? Like where you can say, I'm really good at analysis. I'm really good at document management. So what are your areas of expertise? Now, when you've identified in these areas of expertise, and I know I'm speaking more PM lingo, may not be you may not be able to relate it to project management because you may have not had that exposure. But the next thing you want to do, because you want to go into project management, what you want to say is finding that alignment, right? What you're saying here is, I have a set of skills, but how do they translate to project management? So again, this is where the training of project management is so important. But what I can tell you from a traditional project management approach or agile, right? It really, really, really doesn't matter that you're going to have the life cycle of a project. And that life cycle means that you have a project prior to it even becoming a project, what happens there? And that's a lot of business, creating the business case, creating the benefits management plan, understanding whether this project that you're looking to start is it going to bring value. And that in itself is a role, right? Being a business analyst, being a management analyst, being a consultant. Now, you might not be in the ins and outs of a project, but you're part of a project there. So then it's sort of looking at that full life cycle and saying, okay, well, a project has an initiation, it has a planning phase, it has an execution phase, it has a monitoring controlling phase, and it has a closing phase. So at the end of the day, when we define a project has a start and a finish. It does not go on forever. But when a project is finished, it's handed off to operations, where it's maintained, where, you know, it's continuously assessed and reviewed to make sure that it still complies with organizational standards and rules and so on. But in all of those, you know, and you fall within the life cycle of a product and a project. So that's another part of self-identification. Which part of the product and project management lifecycle do you have experience in? And then which part would you like to gain more experience or go into, right? And so that part of that project management lifecycle alignment is also really, really important, because we're trying to get jobs in project management. So therefore, we have to be able to speak the language and be able to understand what a project management lifecycle is and what a product lifecycle is, so that when we are going through those interviews, we can talk about it from that stage perspective. Any questions or thoughts in terms of what I have shared so far? So just taking some notes for you guys here, and like I said, I will share this with you guys. The next thing that we're doing on a resume is, first of all, don't worry about like a fancy resume that has that is color coded, or that has, you know, fancy wordings, or you know, graphs and things like that. Recruiters don't have time. They're really looking for a piece of document, possibly 2 pages long, that really says who you are as a professional, and that they can identify you within a role and within an industry, right? Or several industries. So if you download a template or go to Canva, I hate those Canva templates. They are annoying because every one of those boxes are like pre-configured, and it just, I hate them, and I create resumes day in and day out. So a simple template would mean you're going to start with your name, which is your first and last name, right? And then you're going to have your email address, phone number, and the other thing I like to have is your LinkedIn profile, right? And so that way they can click on that, and they'll be able to get to your LinkedIn account. And I'm going to make this a little pretty when I send it over to you, but that's it right at the beginning. Do not put your home address. That's not necessary. And you don't really need to have any really any other information at the very top of your resume. The next thing that you're doing here, let me get this line out. The next thing that you're doing here that I like to do is just a quick about you, right? About you, which should be no more than 2 to 3 sentences, right? We're not doing a full elaboration. We're just saying, you know, I'm a project manager with 10 years of experience working on IT projects for these particular industries, health IT, government contracting, whatever it is, right? Really short. my expertise are in software development lifecycle. My expertise are in agile. I am, a product owner. And so just so that as soon as the recruiter sees that first paragraph, they're like, yep, Ben's my person, Suzanne's my person, Vic is my person, Jessica's my person. So I know that, you do hear some individuals who say, don't put the executive summary. It's not really, doesn't really matter. But I feel like it's almost like that greeting. Hi, this is who I am. But it doesn't have to be more than 2 to 3 sentences long. The other thing I like to do is if you're trying to get into project management, what I like to do is project management accomplishments, right? What are those projects? And for you, Jessica, this could even be product management accomplishments, agile project accomplishments, just so like if you're applying for those roles, people can see it. Right. And Suzanne, for you, if you're looking, trying to work on a project, for you, it needs to say project management accomplishments. And Ben, for you, again, once you self-identify, and if you're trying to get into project management, it would need to be project management or the industry you're trying to get into, possible like industry experience or industry accomplishments, because you want to make sure the recruiter sees, hey, that this is a person with accomplishments. They've done things. Any questions so far? Your accomplishments, the way I like to do it, you do an example of your accomplishments, and they need to be metric driven. So when I say metric driven, you want to say, for example, I worked on project XYZ and was able to, oops, can't type right now, was able to complete it 10 days early, and within budget, for example, right? And there's so many different ways that you can write these. So you're gonna do about 3 of these, and that's it. The next thing that I have seen and that recruiters have liked is then for once they see your accomplishments, then they want to see your education, right? What is your education? What have you accomplished? And I like to pair up education and certifications on the same line because, I've done hiring and I like to immediately know, well, what are the classes, right? If you're looking to get into product management, agile, well, I need to see a list of those certifications that align with the industry you want to be in and that they align with the job that you're applying for. Because of course, we've done some research, hopefully. So you're going to list your certifications and listen, you can leave out the date. Leave out the date if you want. Because I know with ageism and all of that, you can go ahead and leave it out. The next thing I like to add on a resume is your technical and your soft skills. So again, what's happening, right? You are in control here. You give a blurb about who you are in your executive summary. You talk about your key accomplishments. So immediately they don't have to go to a second page. They don't have to go to a third page. They already know what your key accomplishments are, right? And we can put that down here as well. Then once they look at your key accomplishments, hopefully they've already been impressed within, this is maybe about a minute now, right? And now the next minute they're going to spend on, okay, what's their education and what are their certifications? And once they've looked at that, they want to know, okay, what are the systems that they know? What are their technical systems that they understand? What are their soft skills that they can that they have? Because again, they are, like, we go and shop around at stores. They're shopping around for a person to come in and help them. So now the technical skills, if you're looking to align with a technical role, right? Do you understand UI, UX? Do you understand project implementation? Do you know how to do risk management? Do you know how to use MS Project? Do you know how to use Jira? Do you know how to use Mural? I think I saw as another tool. Do you know how to use Asana, right? Or do you know how to use Monday.com? Like, what are the project management tools that you know how to use? Do you need to put on there that you know MS Project? Most likely everyone does, so I would skip out on that. But if you know how to use Visio, right, you can put that, because that's not a technical tool that everyone knows how to use. From a soft skills perspective, if you have worked on remotely, right, managing remote teams or virtual, what is that? A remote working experience or something like that. So people know you know how to work online. The other thing you want to put on here is leadership skills, right? And if you are in Agile, putting down that you know Agile, putting down that you know Kanban, putting down that you have Scrum experience. So what are those keywords that pertain to your industry? And should you put everything that does not pertain to your industry? No, right? And the idea here is that you've done your research for the role that you're trying to get into. So you're going to put these technical and soft skills. Then after that, you're going to put your professional experience. And again, with your professional experience, we want to be aware, and we want to be, the fact that, again, attention span is only about 2.5 minutes long. So at this point, I bet you anything, if they've already liked what they've seen in this first page, you're going to get a call or an email. If they haven't liked what they've seen in this half a page or first page of your resume, they're not even going to look at the second page or even look at your professional experience. So I always say this first page is your capability statement, is that it's like that first impression. And then you get into your professional experience. And of course, the way I like to list out professional experience is your title first. Title, company, and then the state and city that is in, and then dates, right? And so that way they look at your title. Now, some of you might have this question, so I'll go ahead and answer in advance. Your title, right? How many of you currently have a title that does not match your work? Anyone? Or tell me the titles that you have. Suzanne, I'm curious about the title that you currently have.
Currently, it's Program Assessment Manager.
Program Assessment Manager. Okay. And then Jessica, what is your title?
Senior Business Strategist.
Okay. So now, when in those titles, you want to, and so here's the thing with titles, just a little background. HR within every company comes up with titles that align to their salary and roles and responsibilities sort of matrix. So they come up with their own titles because it fits the project, it fits the organization, and it fits their salary categorization. So what I always like to say is that if your title is something different, where the work you're doing is more program management, product management, portfolio management, management analyst, requirements, give it a title that matches your work. And when you go to the interview and they're like, what do? You can say, well, HR has given me this title, but really, this is my role. You're not lying, you're not bluffing, you're aligning yourself to the role that you want to get into, because the recruiters don't really know what your title really means. And again, if they look at like a business strategist and Jessica, you're trying to get into a product ownership role, they're going to be like, well, business strategist, hold on. Now let me read through the bullets. Okay, well, I see product management, but the title doesn't match. So again, it's a discrepancy, and that discrepancy then is a, this is too confusing. Let me move on to the next resume. So we have to be careful that our titles match the experience bullets that we've created. Lastly, when you're creating your experience bullets, again, they need to be metric driven, right? And here what you're doing is, if you've led something, if you have spearheaded something, then say that. If you owned it, say it. If you developed it, say it. So take a moment to really understand what was your role within that particular task. If all you ever did, like for example, one of my jobs was to take minutes. It literally was joining meetings to take minutes. And I said, okay, well, how do I even put this on a resume? And so I said, okay, what's the best part of what I did with capturing minutes? I captured actions. I followed up on those action items. I sent the meeting minutes within 2 business days. I modified the minutes if they didn't capture the right thing. So all of those, I owned my work. I owned that meeting minutes process, and I showed that on my resume that I wasn't just taking minutes, but I owned that task. So how do you currently own what you do? How is it that, if someone was in your role right now, would they be able to do an amazing job like you are? Right? And what do you do differently that your peers are not doing? How do you shine at work? And so those are the tasks you want to put on. I would say under professional experience, keep it to at least like maybe 5 to 6 bullets, no more than that. And then if it's like redundant work, keep it out. If it's very administrative work, keep it out. And make sure that those bullets are high accomplishing, things that where you've made an impact and actually have driven to a solution for your organization. So that's essentially a resume. It's simple, it's to the point. Can you add some color to it? Absolutely. What you can do with Word, sometimes I'll just copy this. I'll say this is the title. And then, I'll identify this as heading 1. I'll identify, I'll put the headings and things like that. And when you go to design and you select the different formats, for example, it will create a simple resume for you. You really don't need anything complicated. You want something simple to the point. And of course, as you can see, this sort of made and changed the sizing. Are there prettier resumes? Of course there are. But listen, no one cares about how pretty it is. It's really about it being to the point. It's showing what your capabilities are, and then of course the next step is for you to be able to spit fire when it comes to what's on your resume. So you really have to become a student of project management, and you have to become a student of your resume, and then just go to those interviews with the mindset that if they called you, then they liked your resume. And if they called you, now they're looking for evidence for you to back up what's on your resume. So that's essentially what I wanted to go over. What questions do you all have? What thoughts do you have that you want to share?
Just a quick question. Typically, I've heard people say that we should try to keep the resume to 1 page, maybe 2 at max. I do like this format that you've gone through with us to have these key highlights up front on the first page. So would you suggest for like the professional experience part to then keep that within the remainder of page 1 and just page 2 without going beyond that, depending on how many years of work experience you've had?
I say keep it to 10 years of work experience. And then more than that, you can just put a title and the company you worked for and the dates if you choose to do that. Here's the thing. I don't follow that rule of 2 or 3 pages. Some of my resumes are 3 pages. But what I always do say is that if they like that first page, they'll read the second page and maybe the third page, right? But if they don't like that first page, they're not going to read the second one either. So, you know, if you feel like you need to add a third page, it's okay, as long as it's evidence towards the job that you are looking to apply for.
Thanks.
Yeah. The other thing is, you know, some of you might use ChatGPT, but with ChatGPT as well, you cannot skip the initial work. You cannot skip your self-identification. You cannot skip your expertise, because then again, everyone's using ChatGPT these days. Then it becomes a resume that doesn't belong to you. It becomes like everyone else's resume, and then, you know, then what? So think of yourself as a brand. Think of yourself as a person who has unique sets of skills, and try not to, and don't create these very generic types of resumes. So, but once you have you've self-identified, you can tell ChatGPT things like, you know, I have skills in X, Y, and Z, and you can list them. I'm looking to take these skills and get a job in health IT as a project analyst. Can you help create bullets for me based on these bullets from this particular experience, right? So now what you're doing is you're actually talking to ChatGPT, and then what it will create for you are bullets that are more in alignment to where you want to go versus what you're doing right now. Okay, so but you have to do the self-identification. You have to identify your areas of expertise. You have to understand, at the end of the day, what are your best project management skill sets? What are you really good at? What is it that sets you apart? Because your resume can get through the various systems. However, it may, when it comes to the interview, ChatGPT won't be there for you. So I'm sort of presenting this project management process group and knowledge areas matrix for you to kind of show you what are the activities that happen on a project. And so when you go on a job interview and you're saying, I want to be a project manager, I want to be a product owner, they're going to make sure that you understand this life cycle, that you understand the knowledge areas, and that you understand that within each of these processes, what's really happening. Especially if you're going to be in a leadership role, or if you're supporting a project, they're going to say, well, how are you going to support controlling quality? What are those things that you're going to do? And so that's going to be really important for you, again, to become a student of this discipline, to become a student of project management. And if you haven't taken the training, to take it. If you have taken training, to sort of make sure you refresh your mind and the concepts that you've learned, and so on. So that's what I had to share with you guys. Great questions, Suzanne. Jessica, Ben, Vic, any other thoughts or questions that I can take from you all?
What are your thoughts on being really specific about like the softwares that you've used? I gotten feedback once about one of my bullets on my resume. I had said that I had done something in our construction management software, and I was advised that I should put the title of the construction management software. But for me, construction is not a space I would ever want to go back into. And so I was always of the school of thought that you attract what you put out there. So if my resume is littered with construction specific things, I'm going to get people from construction kind of coming at me. And so I was like, well, putting that I worked in a software shows that I know how to work in project management software, but I don't want people thinking like this is the type of software I want to work in. So I wanted to know, what were your thoughts on that?
I would remove it.
Okay.
I would remove it. Um, and the software question, thank you for bringing that up because, my God, I mean, I went to a PMI conference and there were project management softwares and tools I hadn't even heard about, but their companies use them. So the way I like to always answer this question on an interview is you could have every software in the world listed on your resume, and then they'll come back and be like, well, do you know how to use this particular software? And I always say, no, I actually don't. However, I have experience in using X, Y, and Z, and most of these applications, the foundation of it is based off of, they're the same. And as long as, I understand project management, and I think if I see the software, I shouldn't have any problems using it. So that's how I always answer it, because to be honest, there's so many different softwares. You just tell them you have the capability, you have the knowledge, you have the experience, you know what these softwares do. It's just a matter of learning that particular software. So if any of you ever come across that. And honestly, what I always say, it's not about the software, it's about you understanding project management, and the software is just a tool. So if we don't know project management, we don't understand the life cycles, we don't understand the processes and how things align, whether that's agile, predictive, or hybrid. If we don't understand that, then you're not really going to know how the tool works, because the tool is really based off of a process. The workflows, the way they've created it is based off of agile, Kanban. Like there's actual softwares that mimic a regular Kanban board, where in the past we used to use Excel sheets. Now you're using Azure, you're using Jira. Yeah.
Or I can't hear the
Oh.
presenter.
Oh, hi, hello. Can you guys hear me? Ben, Vic, Suzanne, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh,
So
nope, I'm good.
you're
Sorry.
good. Okay, yeah. So, yeah, whatever I was saying, I forgot now. But it's not about the tool. That's what I was trying to get at. Ben, any questions?
Yeah, kind of same similar light as the person asked the last question in regards to the systems like construction. My last job was in water and wastewater, but I don't want to go back in that industry anymore. But since that's my last leading job on my resume, most employers don't look past that first job. So that's what I always end up seeming to have recruiters reach out to me for. Any suggestions on how to get it more driven toward the skill set and not the industry?
Yeah, so here's what I can tell you. And the industry, so your experience, how many years of your experience comes from that particular industry? Environmental, I guess.
The last 4.
Last 4. And what was prior to that?
Prior to that was working for a biopharmaceutical company.
Okay. So I guess your experience is in environmental and health. So
Right, but I want to make sure that it's not, I don't want to drive the resume based on industry, because I've worked in a variety of different industries. I'm more looking for, hey, if you got a job and it's, with, a demolition company, or maybe it's, whatever it is, aerospace program, let's talk the skill set, not the previous job.
yeah, so that's when it gets a little tricky, because and it really depends on your salary requirements. If you're saying that you're willing to, in order for you to make the amount of money you're making now or more, then the industry is important, because that's where your experience comes from.
Right.
And your salary is going to be based on your experience within an industry, because that shows your credibility. Now, if you're looking to switch up industries, like you want to go from where you have experience and you want to do aerospace, you want to do IT, you want to do coding. So now what happens is that you're going to have to show that, one, you have certifications from that particular industry, or that you're willing to take a pay cut. So that's sort of the the tricky part. You can create a skill-based resume, and you might be able to get calls, but most likely they might be more for, they might not pay you what you deserve. And so you sort of, it's that decision point for you. You know, can you, what I would recommend that even in, you know, health and environmental industries, you can go into an IT project, you can go into a marketing project, for example, which will serve you a lot better than switching up to a completely different industry. Because IT isn't everything, project management isn't everything. So just sort of identifying that, what are the, if you're saying you want to go based on skill set, are you saying now that you would rather you know, work on IT projects, project implementations, and so on? If so, then it's looking at your resume to provide evidence for that particular job set, but within the industry you have experience.
Right. So if I'm looking to kind of change and go from like a project manager to a data analytics person, there's a lot of crossover there with that, you know, those two type of careers. But what you're saying is I would need to probably take an entry level position in some form of data analytics in order to gain the job experience, even though I'm more than qualified in a lot of the areas for it.
Correct. Because and also data analytics is that you do have a lot of new college graduates who have degrees in data analytics, and
Right.
because those kinds of jobs, the salary isn't that high. So a company will most likely hire someone who's graduated from college versus someone who has years of experience, and they can sort of like groom them and push them into next levels. So that's another sort of market game that we're playing with as well, with individuals with experience, with more than, you know, 8 years of experience.
Okay, thank you.
Great questions. Vic, any thoughts or questions from your end? Suzanne, any final thoughts or questions?
Nothing else for me, thanks.
Okay, Jessica, did I cover everything for you? Sorry, I want to make sure.
You did. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, listen, guys, I really appreciate all of you joining this session today. I hope this was helpful. I owe you 2 things. I'm going to go ahead and send over the template so that you can use it. And if you want, what I can also do is sort of send out my schedule link for you guys to schedule a time if you're looking. You know, just I do about like a 20-minute session where I can guide you a little bit more, and then sort of talk about some of the services I offer that can help create resumes for you, so that, you know, that way you're putting your best foot forward, and also you're prepping to speak on behalf of your resume and your skills. So I'll send that over to all of you. Thank you again so much for joining today, and I'll catch you guys 2 weeks from now on our next webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.